On a Tuesday evening in April, while I was making gumbo in my own kitchen, the kitchen I'd worked 42 years to pay for, my daughter Jasmine spat in my face and called me a disgusting old hag. I'm Eleanor Brooks. I'm 68 years old. I wiped my face with my apron, swallowed the humiliation, and said nothing. Then I decided to take back everything. If you're listening from somewhere far away, drop your city in the comments so I can see how far this has traveled. And please, stay with me until the end. It was 6:47 p.m. on Tuesday, April 16th, 2024. I remember the exact time because I just checked the clock on my microwave, wondering if I should wait for Jasmine before serving dinner. The gumbo had been simmering for 3 hours. Okra, andouille sausage, and shrimp, the way my mama taught me back in Mississippi before I moved to Chicago in 1975. I heard her car pull into the driveway, a 2019 Mercedes C-Class, silver. I knew because I'd helped with the down payment, $8,500 from my savings, when she said her Honda had died. Later, I'd learned that Honda was still running fine. She'd sold it for $6,200 and pocketed the money, but I'm getting ahead of myself. The front door slammed, hard enough that the family photos on the hallway wall shook. Jasmine's voice carried through the house before I even saw her. "I don't care if you're broke, Richard. Child support is due on the 1st. You think I can feed Caleb on AIR?" She was screaming into her phone. Her ex-husband, Richard Morrison, orthopedic surgeon, good man who'd finally had enough of her, was late with the child support payment again. $2,400 a month for Caleb. She acted like it was nothing, like it barely covered expenses, even though she was living in my house rent-free, eating my food, using my electricity. I turned off the burner and wiped my hands on my apron. The good apron, the one with little yellow flowers that Caleb had picked out for my birthday 3 years ago, back when Jasmine still pretended to be grateful I'd taken them in. "Sweetie," I called toward the hallway, keeping my voice gentle. "Would you like some—" She appeared in the doorway, 36 years old. My daughter. The baby I'd raised alone after her father, my Joseph, died in a construction accident when she was 7. The girl I'd sewn clothes for until midnight, worked double shifts for, sacrificed everything for so she could have better than I did. Her face was red, makeup smeared from crying, or maybe from rage, I couldn't tell anymore. Her hair, which she'd just had done at that expensive salon on State Street, $380, I'd seen the charge on the credit card bill that somehow ended up on my account, was pulled back in a tight ponytail. "You filthy old woman!" She screamed it. Actually screamed it, so loud that I heard Caleb's bedroom door close upstairs. My 10-year-old grandson, hiding from his mother's voice, again. "Can't you see I'm on the phone?" I opened my mouth to apologize, because that's what I'd learned to do over the past 3 years. Apologize for existing in my own home. But before I could speak, she took 3 steps toward me, and she spat in my face. I felt the wetness hit my left cheek. Warm, disgusting. It slid down slowly, mixing with the steam from the gumbo pot still beside me. For a moment, I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't process what had just happened. My daughter, my baby girl, had just spat on me. "You're useless!" She was still screaming, phone clutched in one hand, the other hand pointing at me like I was something dirty she'd found on the street. "Just in the way. You should have stayed quiet in your corner like the burden you are." I reached for the dish towel hanging by the sink, slowly. My hands were shaking, but I made them move. I wiped my face. The towel came away damp. Jasmine was back on her phone, turning away like nothing had happened. "Sorry, Richard." My mother was interrupting. As I was saying, I stood there in my kitchen, the kitchen with the yellow curtains I'd sewn in 1999, the kitchen where I'd made every birthday cake, every Christmas dinner, every celebration meal for this family. The kitchen I'd painted myself in 2003 because I couldn't afford a painter. Pale blue. Peaceful. I looked down at the dish towel in my hands, at the spot of saliva, and something inside me, something that had been bending and bending for 3 years, taking every insult, every demand, every humiliation, finally snapped. Not broke. Snapped. There's a difference. When something breaks, it falls apart. When something snaps, it becomes something else entirely. My name is Eleanor Josephine Brooks, née Washington. I was born on June 3, 1956 in Greenwood, Mississippi, in a house with a tin roof and no running water. I was the youngest of 6 children. My father picked cotton. My mother cleaned houses for white families in town. I learned to sew when I was 8 years old because my mother said, "Eleanor, you got good hands. Steady. You could make something of those hands." She was right. In 1975, when I was 19, I took a Greyhound bus to Chicago with $43 in my pocket and a Singer sewing machine my mother had saved 2 years to buy me. I got a job at Golden Thread Tailors on the South Side. Started as a presser. Within 5 years, I was their best seamstress. I could take in a suit jacket so perfectly you'd never know it had been altered. I could hem a wedding dress and make the bride cry with gratitude. I met Joseph Brooks in 1978 at a church social. He was 23, I was 22. He worked construction. Big hands, gentle heart. We got married on October 14th, 1978. Jasmine was born on March 2nd, 1988. For 10 years, we were happy. We saved money. We dreamed about buying a house. A real house, not an apartment, with a yard where Jasmine could play. Then on November 8th, 1995, Joseph fell from scaffolding on a job site. 4th floor. He died before the ambulance arrived. He was 40 years old. Jasmine was 7. The life insurance paid out $75,000. I put $15,000 toward funeral expenses and paying off Joseph's truck. I invested $20,000 in a college fund for Jasmine. With the remaining $40,000 plus $8,000 I'd saved over the years, I made a down payment on a house. 847 South Vernon Avenue, Chicago, Illinois. A 2-story brick house with 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bathrooms, a basement I could finish, and a backyard with a maple tree. I bought it on February 3rd, 1998, for $180,000. 30-year mortgage at 7.2% interest. Monthly payment, $1,203. I worked 50-hour weeks at Golden Thread. Took side jobs hemming and alterations at home. Sewed until 2, 3 in the morning sometimes. My fingers developed calluses on calluses. My back started to hurt when I was 35. By 40, I needed reading glasses. By 50, I needed prescription pain medication for the arthritis in my hands. But I made every single mortgage payment. Never late, not once in 26 years. I put Jasmine through college, Roosevelt University. She majored in communications, graduated in 2010 with $32,000 in student loans. I paid off $18,000 of it as a graduation present. She paid the rest herself, or so she said. I found out later she'd defaulted, let it go to collections, and it had destroyed her credit score. She married Richard Morrison in 2012. Big wedding at the Palmer House Hilton. I made her dress. Ivory silk with hand-sewn lace. Took me 4 months. I also paid for the flowers, $3,800, because Richard's family was going through a tough time financially. Turned out they were millionaires. They'd just spent their budget on other things and expected me to cover the gaps. Jasmine and Richard had Caleb on June 15, 2014. Beautiful baby boy. I was in the delivery room. I held him when he was 6 minutes old. I made a promise to him that day, whispering it so soft nobody else heard. I will always protect you. I meant it. For the first 8 years of Caleb's life, things were good. Jasmine seemed happy. Richard had a successful practice. They bought a house in Lincoln Park, $780,000, which seemed insane to me, but Richard assured me it was a good investment. I saw Caleb every Sunday. Jasmine would bring him over and we'd bake cookies or I'd read to him. He loved books about space, wanted to be an astronaut. Then in 2021, everything fell apart. Jasmine filed for divorce. She said Richard had changed, that he was controlling, that she deserved better. I didn't ask questions. I'd learned years ago that Jasmine didn't like questions. She liked sympathy and money. The divorce was finalized on August 3rd, 2021. Jasmine got primary custody of Caleb. Richard got him every other weekend and paid $2,400 monthly child support. The house was sold. After splitting the proceeds and paying legal fees, Jasmine walked away with $187,000. 2 weeks later, she showed up at my door with Caleb and 6 suitcases. "Mama," she said, eyes red and puffy. "I need help, just temporarily, just until I get back on my feet." That was 3 years ago. She never got back on her feet. And I became a prisoner in my own home. At first, it was fine, better than fine. I loved having Caleb in the house, his laughter, his questions. Grandma, why is the sky blue? Grandma, how do birds know where to fly? Grandma, did you really meet Martin Luther King Jr.? I did once in 1966, but that's another story. Jasmine got a job as a receptionist at a dermatology clinic. 4 hours a day, Monday through Thursday. $16 an hour. She brought home about $800 a month after taxes, plus the $2,400 from Richard. $3,200 a month total. But somehow, she was always broke. I didn't understand it at first. I paid the mortgage, $1,203. Property taxes, $520 per month average. Utilities, $280. Internet and cable, $140. Groceries, $600. And most of Caleb's expenses, clothes, school supplies, doctor visits. My pension from Golden Thread was $1,850 a month, plus Social Security of $1,340. Total, $3,190. I was spending about $2,800 of that on household expenses that benefited all three of us. Jasmine should have had at least $2,500 left over every month. But every week, she asked for money. Mama, Caleb needs new shoes. His feet grew again. $85. Mama, my car needs an oil change. $60. Mama, can you cover groceries this week? I'm a little short. $150. Mama, Caleb's school is having a fundraiser. We need to contribute. $100. I gave her money every time, because she was my daughter, because Caleb was my grandson, because I thought I was helping. But the requests got bigger, and her attitude got worse. It started with small things. Eye rolls when I asked about her day. Heavy sighs when I suggested she look for a full-time job. Snapping at me when I didn't cook what she wanted for dinner. Then came the insults. Mama, this food is bland. Don't you know how to season anything? Mama, why is this house so old? Everything in here is from the 1990s. Mama, can you not talk when my friends are over? You embarrass me. She started bringing friends home. Women in their 30s, dressed in clothes I couldn't afford, drinking wine I didn't buy, laughing at jokes I wasn't included in. They'd sit in my living room, the living room with the furniture I'd bought piece by piece over 25 years, and talk like I wasn't there. Once I walked through carrying laundry, and one of them, a woman named Kendra, thin and blonde and wearing a Gucci belt, said, "Oh, is that the maid?" Jasmine laughed. Actually laughed. "No, that's my mother. She lives here with me." With her, like it was her house. She started introducing me that way. "This is my mom. She lives here with me. Not I'm staying with my mother, not my mother was kind enough to take us in. She lives here with me." The worst part? The way she treated me in front of Caleb. "Caleb, don't bother Grandma. She's too old to be playing with you." "Caleb, let Grandma rest. She gets tired easily at her age." "Caleb, ask Aunt Nicole to help with your science project. Grandma doesn't understand these things." She was teaching him, teaching my grandson that I was useless, that old people were burdens, that I didn't matter. One night, about 6 months ago, October 12th, 2023, Caleb came into my room after Jasmine thought he was asleep. He climbed into my bed, something he hadn't done since he was 5. "Grandma?" he whispered. "Yes, baby?" "Why does Mommy yell at you so much?" I didn't know what to say. How do you explain to a 10-year-old that his mother has become someone you don't recognize? Sometimes grown-ups get stressed, sweetheart. "But you don't yell at her." "No." "Why not?" I hugged him tighter. "Because yelling doesn't fix anything. And because I love you both, even when things are hard." He was quiet for a long time. Then, "I don't like when she's mean to you." "I know, baby, I know." That night, after Caleb fell asleep, I lay awake until dawn, thinking, remembering, realizing. I'd spent 3 years making excuses for Jasmine. The divorce was hard on her. She was stressed. She was adjusting. She'd get better once she found a better job. Once she healed. Once things settled down. But things weren't settling down. They were getting worse. And I was too old, too tired, too worn down to see it. Until she spat in my face. I didn't confront Jasmine that night. I finished making dinner, gumbo, cornbread, green beans. I set the table like I did every night, called them down to eat. Jasmine came down first, phone still in her hand. She sat down, scooped gumbo into her bowl, and didn't say a word. Didn't apologize. Didn't acknowledge what had happened. Caleb came down next, quiet and careful. He'd heard the screaming. He always did. "Grandma, this smells good," he said softly, trying to smooth over the tension like he'd learned to do. "Thank you, baby." We ate in silence. Jasmine scrolled through her phone. Caleb pushed okra around his bowl. I chewed mechanically, tasting nothing. After dinner, Jasmine went out. "Meeting friends," she said. She took my car, the 2008 Honda Civic I'd bought used in 2010, because hers was low on gas and I don't get paid until Friday. She didn't ask permission, just took the keys from the hook by the door. She came home at 11:47 p.m. I heard her stumble upstairs, heard her bedroom door close. I sat in my bedroom, the master bedroom, though it hadn't felt like mine in months, and looked at myself in the mirror above my dresser. I saw a 68-year-old woman, gray hair cut short because I couldn't afford the salon anymore, skin darker and more lined than it used to be, reading glasses perched on my nose, hands bent slightly from arthritis. I looked like what Jasmine saw, an old woman, weak, useless, in the way. But I knew something Jasmine didn't know. I knew who I used to be, and I knew I could become her again. On Wednesday, April 17th, I started paying attention. Real attention. The kind I'd stopped paying because it was easier to be blind, easier to make excuses, easier to keep the peace. I started with small things. Jasmine's work schedule. She was supposed to work Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., but I realized she often didn't leave until 10 a.m., and she came home at noon sometimes, not 1. Where was she going? Her spending. She dressed well, too well for someone making $800 a month. On Thursday, she wore a new outfit. Free People blouse, $128, I looked it up later. Designer jeans, $245. Boots I'd never seen before. I checked the mail that day. A credit card statement arrived. Chase Sapphire, under my name. Wait, under my name? I opened it. $4,287.42 balance. Purchases from the last month. Sephora, $387. 29 Nordstrom, $1,243.18. Target, $456.77. Whole Foods, $623.88. Various restaurants, $1,187.54. Gas stations, $388.76. I didn't shop at any of these places except Target, and I certainly hadn't spent $456 there in 1 month. Jasmine had a credit card in my name. I sat at the kitchen table staring at the statement. My hands started shaking, not from fear, but from rage so pure and cold it felt like ice in my veins. How long had this been going on? I went to my bedroom and pulled out the filing cabinet where I kept important papers. I went through every credit card statement from the past year. Chase Sapphire, opened March 2023. Current balance, $4,287.42. Total charges over 13 months, $32,449.87. Discover card, opened August 2023. Current balance, $2,876.55. Total charges over 8 months, $18,332.11. American Express, opened November 2023. Current balance, $1,987.33. Total charges over 5 months, $8,234.67. My daughter had opened 3 credit cards in my name and charged $59,016.65 to them, almost $60,000. I had to sit down. Actually had to sit down on the floor because my legs wouldn't hold me. She'd stolen $60,000 from me, but that wasn't even the worst part. On Friday, April 19th, I went to Bank of America on 47th Street. I told Jasmine I had a doctor's appointment. She didn't even look up from her phone. "Whatever, Mama. Can you pick up Caleb from school at 3? "Yes." I took the bus, sat in the back, clutching my purse, feeling like I was doing something dangerous, which I guess I was. I was about to discover the truth. The bank was busy. I waited 20 minutes to see a representative. Finally, a young woman named Shanice called me to her desk. "How can I help you today, Mrs. Brooks?" "I need to check my accounts. All of them." "Of course. Can I see your ID?" I handed her my driver's license. She typed on her computer, frowned, Typed more. Mrs. Brooks, I'm showing 4 accounts under your name and social security number. 4? Yes. 1 checking account, 1 savings account, and 2 certificates of deposit that matured in, let me check, 2019 and 2021. Were you aware of those CDs? No. She turned her screen toward me. Eleanor J. Brooks. Account summary, checking account, 0847, $427. 16 savings account, 2341, $12,338.94. CD account, 5923. Matured June 15th, 2019. $0 CD account, 7702. Matured August 3rd, 2021. $0. What happened to the CDs? I asked, though I already knew. Shanice clicked through screens. Let me see. The first CD, account ending in 5923, original deposit $15,000 in 2009, matured at $21,477.88 on June 15, 2019. It was withdrawn 2 days later, June 17, 2019. I'd opened that CD right after Jasmine graduated college, a nest egg for her future or for emergencies. The second CD, account ending in 7702, was opened in 2014 with $10,000. It matured at $13,289.55 on August 3, 2021. It was withdrawn August 5, 2021. August 3, 2021. Jasmine's divorce was finalized. August 5, 2021, 2 days later. Who withdrew the money? I asked, even though I knew. Shanice checked. The authorized signer on both accounts, Jasmine M. Brooks. When was she added as an authorized signer? More typing. She was added to your accounts on March 12, 2018, before her divorce, when things seemed fine. She'd been planning this for 6 years. Mrs. Brooks, are you okay? You look pale. Can I see the transaction history for my checking and savings accounts for the past 3 years? Shanice printed out 12 pages of transactions. I sat in the bank lobby and went through them. My checking account had $427.16 left. It should have had more. My pension and Social Security deposited $3,190 every month automatically, but there were withdrawals, hundreds of them. March 2024, withdrawals by Jasmine M. Brooks. March 2nd, $75, ATM withdrawal. March 5th, $120, transfer to Jasmine Brooks, Chase. March 8th, $65, ATM withdrawal. March 12th, $200, check number 2847. March 15th, $95, ATM withdrawal. March 19th, $180, transfer to Jasmine Brooks, Chase. March 23rd, $85, ATM withdrawal asterisk. March 27th, $140. 00, check number 2851 asterisk. March 30th, $200, transfer to Jasmine Brooks, Chase. Total March withdrawals by Jasmine, $1,160. I went back through the pages, month after month, the same pattern. February 2024, $1,087. January 2024, $1,205. December 2023, $1,340. Back and back and back. For 3 years, Jasmine had been taking an average of $1,100 per month from my checking account. Total stolen from checking, $39,600, but the savings account was worse. The balance showed $12,338.94. It should have had over $30,000. I'd been saving for 20 years, $100 a month when I could, sometimes more. Big withdrawals from savings. August 15th, 2021, minus $5,000, Jasmine M. Brooks, check. November 3rd, 2021, minus $3,000, Jasmine M. Brooks, transfer. February 14th, 2022, minus $2,500, Jasmine M. Brooks, transfer. June 30th, 2022, minus $4,000, Jasmine M. Brooks, check. October 12th, 2022, minus $1,800, Jasmine M. Brooks, ATM. January 20th, 2023, minus $2,200, Jasmine M. Brooks, check. On and on. Total stolen from savings, $18,500. I added it up on the back of one of the pages, using a pen Shanice had given me. Credit cards, $59,000, $16.65. Checking account, $39,600. Savings account, $18,500. CDs and $34,767.43. Total $151,884.08. My daughter had stolen $151,884 from me. Over 6 years, she'd systematically robbed me of everything I'd saved. I sat in that bank lobby for an hour, staring at the papers, my whole body numb. Shanice came by twice to ask if I needed anything. I shook my head. Finally, I stood up, walked back to her desk. I need to make some changes to my accounts. That night, after Jasmine went out again, she was going out almost every night now, I realized, I went into my bedroom and opened the safe. It was a small fireproof safe I kept in my closet, hidden behind winter coats. The combination was Jasmine's birthday, March 2nd, '88. I should change that, I thought. Inside the safe were my most important documents: birth certificate, social security card, marriage license to Joseph's death certificate, life insurance paperwork, my will, the deed to my house, car title, passport, some jewelry my mother had left me. I took everything out and spread it on my bed. Something was wrong. I could feel it. The papers were disturbed, not in the order I'd left them. Some were photocopied. I could see the faint lines where they'd been pressed on a copy machine. I picked up my will. It was dated July 15th, 2018. I'd made it 6 years ago, right after Jasmine added herself as an authorized signer on my bank accounts. Coincidence? The will was simple. I, Eleanor Josephine Brooks, being of sound mind and body, do hereby leave all my worldly possessions to my daughter, Jasmine Marie Brooks, including but not limited to my house at 847 South Vernon Avenue, all bank accounts, all investments, all personal property, and any other assets I may own at the time of my death. Standard. That's what mothers do, right? Leave everything to their children? But underneath the will, I found something I didn't remember. A power of attorney document. Notarized. Dated March 12th, 2018. The same day Jasmine was added to my bank accounts. I read it carefully. Durable financial power of attorney I, Eleanor Josephine Brooks, hereby grant to Jasmine Marie Brooks full power and authority to act on my behalf in all financial matters, including but not limited to accessing all bank accounts, managing all investments, selling or purchasing property, signing contracts, making healthcare decisions, accessing all financial records, acting as my representative in all legal and financial matters. This power shall remain in effect even if I become incapacitated or unable to manage my own affairs. At the bottom, my signature. Eleanor J. Brooks. Except, I looked closer. The signature looked like mine. The loops and curves were right, but something about the pressure, the angle. I got a magnifying glass from my desk drawer, examined it under my reading lamp. The signature had been traced. I could see where the pen had hesitated, where someone had carefully followed the outline of my real signature. It was good. Good enough to fool a notary who wasn't paying close attention. Good enough to fool me on a quick glance. But it wasn't my signature. I sat on my bed, holding this document, and felt something I'd never felt before toward my daughter. Not anger, not betrayal, pure, cold hatred. She'd forged my signature on a power of attorney that gave her complete control over my entire life, and she'd done it 6 years ago. This wasn't opportunistic theft. This wasn't desperation after her divorce. This was a long-term plan. From the beginning, from when things were still good, she'd been preparing to take everything from me. I looked at the date again. March 12th, 2018. What else happened in March 2018? I grabbed my phone and opened Facebook. Scrolled back through Jasmine's posts. There, March 18th, 2018. Just had the most amazing spa weekend in Napa with my bestie Kendra. Sometimes you just need to treat yourself. Hashtag self-care, hashtag wine country, hashtag living my best life. Photos of her and Kendra, the friend who'd asked if I was the maid, at a luxury spa. Mud baths, champagne, massage tables. I Googled the spa. Auberge du Soleil. Starting prices, $8,000 for a weekend package for 2. 1 week after Jasmine got access to my money, she spent $8,000 on a spa trip. I kept scrolling. June 2018. New car, who dis? #Mercedes, #blessed. August 2018. Surprised my baby with tickets to Disneyland. Best mom ever. December 2018. Holiday shopping done. I may have gone a little overboard, but everyone deserves the best. For 4 years, while she was still married to Richard, Jasmine had been stealing from me and living a lifestyle she couldn't afford. The divorce settlement money, $187,000, that she'd supposedly gone through paying for lawyers and moving expenses. She'd never had financial problems. She just wanted more. And I'd been the solution. The stupid, trusting, weak-old woman who would never question her darling daughter. I put all the documents back in the safe except for the power of attorney. That one I took photos of with my phone. Close-ups of the signature, the notary stamp, every detail. Then I called my cousin Vincent in Madison, Wisconsin. It was 10:30 p.m., but Vincent answered on the second ring. "Ellie, everything okay?" "Vincent, I need help." I told him everything. The spitting, the credit cards, the bank accounts, the power of attorney. He was quiet for a long time after I finished. "Ellie," he finally said, his voice tight with anger. "You need a lawyer. Tomorrow. Not next week. Tomorrow." "I don't know any lawyers." "I do. Let me make some calls. Can you get away from the house? Meet someone?" "Yes." "I'll text you an address tomorrow morning. 9 a.m. His name is Mr. Harrison. Don't tell Jasmine where you're going." "I won't." "Ellie?" "Yes?" "You're not weak. You're not stupid. You're not any of the things she's made you believe. You hear me?" I started crying then, really crying for the first time since Joseph died. "I hear you." "Good. Now get some rest. Tomorrow, we take your life back." On Saturday morning, April 20th, I told Jasmine I was going to a church event. "It's the monthly senior breakfast," I said, pulling on my good navy coat, the one I'd bought at Goodwill in 2019 for $12. "I should be back by noon." Jasmine didn't even look up from her phone. She was sitting at my kitchen table, drinking coffee I'd made, eating toast I'd bought. "Whatever, Mama. Can you pick up milk on the way back?" "We're out." "Of course." I walked 3 blocks to the bus stop, my purse clutched tight against my chest. Inside were the photos I'd taken of the forged power of attorney, the credit card statements, and the bank account printouts. The address Vincent had texted me was downtown, Harrison and Associates, 203 West Adams Street, Suite 1407. The bus ride took 40 minutes. I spent the entire time going over what I'd discovered, making sure I had the story straight. Numbers, dates, facts, $151,884.08 stolen over 6 years. 3 credit cards in my name totaling $59,016.65. A forged power of attorney dated March 12, 2018. I kept repeating the numbers like a prayer. Harrison and Associates occupied a corner suite on the 14th floor of a glass building that made me feel small just standing in the lobby. The receptionist, a young black woman with beautiful natural hair, smiled warmly when I walked in. "Mrs. Brooks, Mr. Harrison is expecting you. Right this way." She led me to a large office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Chicago River. Behind a mahogany desk sat a man who looked to be in his mid-50s, wearing a crisp gray suit. He stood when I entered. "Mrs. Brooks, I'm Malcolm Harrison. Vincent spoke very highly of you. Please sit." His handshake was firm but gentle. He had kind eyes. I sat in the leather chair across from his desk, and for the first time in weeks, I felt like someone was actually seeing me. Not as a burden, not as an ATM, as a person. "Vincent gave me the broad strokes," Mr. Harrison said, sitting back down. "But I need to hear it from you. Start from the beginning. Take your time." So I did. I told him about Jasmine moving in 3 years ago, about the small requests for money that became bigger and bigger, about finding the credit card statements, the bank withdrawals, the emptied CDs, the forged power of attorney. I showed him everything I'd brought. He examined each document carefully, making notes on a yellow legal pad. When he got to the power of attorney, he pulled out a magnifying glass, the same thing I'd done, and studied the signature for a long time. "Mrs. Brooks," he said finally, "did you sign this document?" "No, sir." "Did you authorize Jasmine to sign it on your behalf?" "No, sir." Did you know she had power of attorney over your finances? Not until 2 days ago. He set the document down and looked at me directly. Mrs. Brooks, what your daughter has done is called elder financial abuse. It's not just unethical, it's a felony in Illinois. The forged power of attorney alone carries a sentence of up to 15 years in prison. Add in the systematic theft of over $150,000, and we're looking at serious criminal charges. I felt my stomach drop. Prison? If prosecuted, yes, but... He held up a hand. That's if you choose to press charges. Right now, I need to understand what you want to accomplish here. I thought about Caleb, my sweet grandson who was learning to see me as worthless because his mother treated me that way. I want my money back, I said quietly. I want control of my own life, and I want to make sure she can never do this to anyone else. What about Caleb? Caleb deserves better than what his mother is teaching him. He deserves better than watching her abuse me. Mr. Harrison nodded slowly. Okay, here's what we're going to do. First, we revoke this power of attorney immediately. I'll draft the paperwork today. Second, we open new bank accounts in your name only at a different bank. We transfer all remaining funds. Third, we dispute these credit card charges as fraudulent and file police reports. Fourth, he paused. We need to get you a medical evaluation. I'm not sick. I know, but Jasmine might try to claim you were incompetent when you signed the original documents, or that you're incompetent now. We need documentation showing you're of sound mind. Can you see a doctor this week? Preferably a geriatric specialist. I can try. Good. My assistant will help you schedule it. Now, Mrs. Brooks, I need to ask you something difficult. I waited. Your house, the one at 847 South Vernon, is it paid off? No, I have about $47,000 left on the mortgage. It'll be paid off in 2028. And it's in your name only? Yes. Joseph and I bought it together, but after he died, it transferred to me. Only my name is on the deed. Mr. Harrison made more notes. Here's something you should know. That house is worth approximately $425,000 in today's market. Maybe more. Southside is gentrifying rapidly. I stared at him. 400,000? Yes, ma'am, which means you have about $378,000 in equity. That's real money, Mrs. Brooks. Money your daughter knows about. I remembered the phone call I'd overheard. When she has to go to the nursing home, this house is mine. She's planning to take it, isn't she? I said. Based on this forged power of attorney? Yes. She could sell your house out from under you and claim she was acting in your best interest. She could put you in a facility against your will and pocket the proceeds. The room seemed to tilt. Mrs. Brooks, are you all right? I gripped the arms of the chair. What do I do? Mr. Harrison leaned forward. This might sound extreme, but you have options. You could sell the house yourself, take the equity, pay off your debt, start fresh somewhere your daughter can't manipulate you. It's your house, your decision, your money. Sell my house. The house Joseph and I chose together. The house I'd worked 42 years to pay for. But it wasn't really mine anymore, was it? Not when I was afraid in it. Not when I was a prisoner in it. How fast could I sell it? I asked. In this market? 2 weeks with the right agent and a motivated buyer. Maybe less if you accept a cash offer slightly below market value. I thought about Caleb. About the college fund Jasmine had already stolen from. About the life insurance money I'd carefully invested that had vanished. About every sacrifice I'd made being turned into ammunition against me. Let's do it, I said. Mr. Harrison's eyebrows rose. You're sure? I'm sure. She wants me gone so she can have my house? Fine. She can have an empty building with a mortgage I'm not paying anymore. Let's see how she likes that. For the first time in our meeting, Mr. Harrison smiled. Mrs. Brooks, I think we're going to get along just fine. On Monday, April 22nd, Mr. Harrison's office got me an appointment with Dr. Patricia Chen, a geriatric specialist at Northwestern Medicine. Jasmine insisted on coming with me. Mama, you can't go to the doctor alone, she said, suddenly the concerned daughter. What if they tell you something serious? You need support. I knew what she really wanted. To be in the room, to influence the doctor, to build a case that I was incompetent. All right, baby, I said, playing along. Thank you for caring. We sat in the waiting room together. Jasmine scrolled through her phone. I pretended to read a magazine while actually rehearsing everything Mr. Harrison had coached me on. Dr. Chen is going to ask you standard cognitive questions, he'd said. Answer them fully and confidently. If Jasmine tries to interrupt or answer for you, politely but firmly redirect. Say something like, I can answer for myself, thank you. Mrs. Brooks? A nurse called my name. In the examination room, Dr. Chen, a woman in her 40s with kind eyes and efficient movements, introduced herself and began the evaluation. Mrs. Brooks, can you tell me today's date? Monday, April 22nd, 2024. And where are we right now? Northwestern Medicine, downtown Chicago, Illinois. Who is the current president? Joe Biden. Jasmine shifted in her seat beside me. I could feel her wanting to interrupt, to undermine, but Dr. Chen's questions continued in rapid succession. Can you count backward from 100 by sevens? 100, 93, 86, 79, 72, 65, 58, 51, 44, 37, 30, 23, 16, 9, 2. Can you remember these three words? Apple, table, penny. I'll ask you to repeat them in a few minutes. Apple, table, penny. Dr. Chen had me draw a clock showing 3:15. She asked me to name objects, to follow multi-step instructions, to recall the three words from earlier. Apple, table, penny. Easy. Halfway through, Jasmine interrupted. Doctor, at home she gets confused sometimes. Last week she forgot where she put her keys. I turned to my daughter and said calmly but clearly, Jasmine, I can speak for myself. Thank you. Dr. Chen made a note. Mrs. Brooks, she continued, do you manage your own finances? I used to, I said, until recently when I discovered my daughter had been accessing my accounts without permission. Jasmine's head snapped toward me. Mama, I'm sorry, who is the patient here? Dr. Chen asked coolly. I am, I said. Then Mrs. Brooks will answer the questions. Dr. Chen turned back to me. Can you tell me about your financial management? Do you pay bills? Balance a checkbook? Yes. I've been paying my mortgage for 26 years, never late. I managed a household budget while working full-time for 42 years. I opened certificates of deposit, maintained savings accounts, and invested my late husband's life insurance money prudently. Every word was true. Every word was a dig at Jasmine. The evaluation continued for another 30 minutes. At the end, Dr. Chen said, Mrs. Brooks, I'm going to be very clear with you. Your cognitive function is excellent. You scored 30 out of 30 on the mini mental state examination. Your memory, reasoning, and executive function are all well within normal range for your age. Actually, above average. She turned to Jasmine. Whatever concerns you have about your mother's competency, they're unfounded. She is fully capable of managing her own affairs. Jasmine's face turned red. But doctor, I think you're missing— I'm not missing anything. Your mother is of sound mind. That's my professional opinion, and I'll be documenting it in her chart. In the car on the way home, Jasmine was silent. Furious, but silent. I looked out the window and smiled. On Tuesday, I met Derek Thompson from Bridgeport Realty at a coffee shop 6 blocks from my house. Mrs. Brooks, he said, shaking my hand. Vincent spoke highly of you, and I have to say your timing is perfect. South Vernon is hot right now. He showed me comps, comparable sales in my neighborhood. Houses similar to mine selling for $405,000, $432,000, $448,000. I think we can list at $425,000 and get offers within a week, Derek said. Maybe multiple offers, which drives the price up. But if you want to move fast, I mean really fast, I have a cash buyer who's been looking in your area. Young couple, tech money, want to close in 2 weeks. I could probably get them to $415,000 cash, no inspection, quick close. $415,000. Minus the $47,000 mortgage payoff, minus about $25,000 in closing costs and realtor fees. I'd walk away with approximately $343,000. How fast? I asked. I could have papers drawn up by Thursday, close by May 10th, 2.5 weeks. I thought about Caleb, about the spitting, about the forged signature. Let's do it, Derek smiled. I'll need you to sign some paperwork. Can you come by my office tomorrow? Yes. We shook hands again, and I walked home slowly, my head spinning. I was selling my house. The house Joseph died trying to provide. The house I'd sewn until my fingers bled to keep. The house that held every memory of raising Jasmine. But it wasn't really my house anymore. It was a prison, and I was breaking free. On Wednesday, April 24th, while Jasmine was at work and Caleb was at school, I went through every drawer, every closet, every cabinet in my house. I was looking for more secrets. I found them. In Jasmine's bedroom, the bedroom that used to be my sewing room, I found a locked metal file box under her bed. The lock was a simple combination padlock, 3 digits. I tried her birthday, 328, nothing. Caleb's birthday, 614, nothing. On a hunch, I tried the day she got married, 912, September 12th. Click. Inside the box, bank statements for an account I didn't know existed. Chase savings account in the name of Jasmine M. Brooks Trust account for Caleb E. Morrison. A trust account. For Caleb. Current balance, $78,443.67. I stared at that number. Where did $78,000 come from? I flipped through the statements. Deposits going back 3 years. August 5th, 2021. Deposit $13,289.55, the exact amount from my matured CD. August 15th, 2021. Deposit $5,000 from my savings account. November 3rd, 2021. Deposit $3,000 from my savings account. On and on. Every withdrawal Jasmine had made from my accounts had been deposited here. But this wasn't a real trust account for Caleb. This was Jasmine's personal account with Caleb's name on it to make it look legitimate. I took photos of every page. Then I found the second folder, property records. Jasmine had been looking at houses, expensive houses. Lincoln Park, $780,000, her old neighborhood. Gold Coast, $1.2 million. Lakeview, $650,000. She'd been planning to use my home equity to buy herself a mansion. I photographed everything. The third folder contained the worst discovery. Emails, printed out, between Jasmine and someone named Mark Sullivan, Sunrise Assisted Living Facility. Dated March 15th, 2024, 1 month ago. From Jasmine Brooks to Mark Sullivan, subject inquiry, memory care unit. Hi Mark, I'm looking into memory care options for my mother, Eleanor Brooks, age 68. She's been showing signs of cognitive decline, forgetfulness, confusion, difficulty managing finances. I have power of attorney and will be handling the placement and payments. Can you send me pricing for your premium memory care suites? I'm particularly interested in the costs and what's included. Also, what's your policy on resident belongings? My mother owns a home that will need to be sold to fund her care. I want to make sure we handle that properly. Thanks, Jasmine. From Mark Sullivan to Jasmine Brooks. Subject RE. Inquiry, Memory Care Unit. Hi, Jasmine. Thanks for reaching out. I'm sorry to hear about your mother. Our premium memory care suites start at $8,500 per month and include 24-hour nursing care, all meals, activities, and medication management. Regarding property, many families do sell the resident's home to fund long-term care. We can connect you with an elder law attorney who specializes in Medicaid planning and asset protection. I've attached our brochure. Feel free to call to schedule a tour. Best, Mark Jasmine had responded. Perfect. I'll be in touch soon to schedule a tour. Probably looking at placement within the next 2 to 3 months. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the papers. She'd been planning to put me in a nursing home. Not because I needed it, because she wanted my house. $8,500 a month. My entire pension and Social Security was $3,190. I'd run through my savings in less than a year. Then what? Medicaid would force the sale of my house to pay for care I didn't need, and Jasmine would walk away with hundreds of thousands of dollars. I sat on her bedroom floor, surrounded by evidence of her betrayal, and something inside me turned to steel. No more crying, no more doubt, no more mercy. On Thursday, April 25th, I met with Mr. Harrison again. I showed him everything I'd found. The secret account with $78,443, the emails about the nursing home, the property searches. He was quiet for a long time. "Mrs. Brooks," he said finally, "this is worse than I thought. She wasn't just stealing from you opportunistically. This was a calculated, long-term plan to defraud you of everything you own and have you institutionalized against your will. Can we stop her? We can do better than stop her. We can make sure she faces consequences." He pulled out a timeline he'd been working on. Here's where we are. Power of attorney. Revoked as of Monday. New bank accounts. Open Tuesday at Chase. All funds transferred. Credit cards, disputes filed, police report filed for identity theft. Medical evaluation. Complete. Your certified competent * house. Under contract as of yesterday. Closes May 10th. What Jasmine doesn't know yet is that all her access is gone. She hasn't tried to use your account since last week, so she hasn't discovered it yet. When she does, probably when she tries to withdraw money this weekend, she's going to panic. Good, I said. Mr. Harrison looked at me carefully. Mrs. Brooks, I need to prepare you. When people like Jasmine realize they've lost control, they escalate. She might get violent. She might try to have you declared incompetent through the courts. She might make accusations against you. Are you prepared for that? I thought about the spit on my face, the years of insults, the stolen money, the forged signatures. I'm prepared. Okay, then here's what I propose. We don't tell her anything yet. We let her discover the account closures on her own. We let her panic. And then, when she's at her most desperate, that's when we'll confront her with everything. When? The house closes May 10th. That's 2 weeks from Friday. I suggest we have a family meeting that day. Here, in my office. You, me, Jasmine, and potentially CPS if we're concerned about Caleb's welfare. She'll never come. She will if she thinks she's going to get something. We'll tell her it's about updating your will. What about Caleb? Can you arrange for him to be with Richard that day? It's Richard's weekend anyway. Perfect. So Caleb is safe, you're protected, and we have a controlled environment to lay everything out. He paused. Mrs. Brooks, I want to be clear. This is going to be ugly. Are you absolutely sure? I thought about Caleb asking me why his mommy yelled at me so much. I'm sure. On Saturday, April 27th, it happened. I was in the kitchen making breakfast when I heard Jasmine scream upstairs. What the fuck? Heavy footsteps on the stairs. She came down in her pajamas, phone in hand, face purple with rage. What did you do? She screamed at me. I don't know what you mean, I said calmly, flipping a pancake. My card, my transfer. It's declined. All of it. Which card is that, baby? Don't baby me. The Chase card. Your account. It says account closed. What did you do? I turned off the stove, turned to face her. I closed my accounts and opened new ones, at a different bank, without you. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. You can't do that. I can. I did. But I have power of attorney. Had. Past tense. I revoked it. When? Monday, with my lawyer. You don't have a lawyer. Yes, I do. His name is Malcolm Harrison. Very good at elder financial abuse cases. Jasmine stared at me like I'd grown a second head. Mama, have you lost your mind? I'm trying to help you. I'm managing your money because you're getting confused. I'm not confused, Jasmine. I'm perfectly clear. Clearer than I've been in years. You need help. You're old. You can't. I'm 68, not 98. And I managed my own finances just fine for 50 years before you started stealing from me. Stealing? I never. $151,884.08. I said it clearly. That's how much you've stolen from me over 6 years. Should I break it down? $59,016 on credit cards you opened in my name. $39,600 from my checking account. $18,500 from my savings. $34,767 from my CDs. Want me to show you the bank statements? Her face went white. You were planning to put me in a nursing home, I continued. Sunrise Assisted Living. $8,500 a month. You were going to sell my house to pay for it. Except I don't need a nursing home, Jasmine. I'm perfectly healthy. Dr. Chen confirmed it. Mama, you forged my signature on a power of attorney. That's a felony. I didn't. I have the document. I have the analysis. The police have been notified. Jasmine's legs seemed to give out. She sat down hard on the stairs. Where's the money, Jasmine? I asked. The $78,443 in the trust account for Caleb that Caleb doesn't know exists? She looked up at me, and for the first time in 3 years, I saw fear in her eyes. We're going to settle this, I said. Next Friday, May 10th, 2 p.m., Mr. Harrison's office. You're going to be there. And if I don't come, then I'll press criminal charges and you'll explain to a judge instead of me. I walked past her, up the stairs, leaving her sitting there with her mouth open. Behind me, I heard her start to cry. I didn't turn around. The days between April 27th and May 10th were the longest of my life. Jasmine barely spoke to me. She stayed in her room most of the time, coming out only to use the bathroom or grab food. When she did see me, her eyes were red and swollen. Sometimes I heard her on the phone, whispering desperately to someone, probably her sister Nicole or maybe her friends. I didn't care anymore. Caleb noticed the change. On Thursday, May 2nd, he came to my room after dinner. "Grandma, are you and Mommy fighting?" I patted the bed beside me. He climbed up, and I held him close. "Sometimes grown-ups have disagreements, baby, but I want you to know something very important. None of this is your fault. Do you understand? Mommy's been crying a lot." "I know." "She says you're being mean to her." I closed my eyes. Of course she did. "Caleb, I need you to listen carefully. Sometimes people do things that hurt us, even people we love. And when that happens, we have to stand up for ourselves. That doesn't make us mean. It makes us strong." He was quiet for a moment. Then, "Did Mommy hurt you?" "Yes, baby, she did." "I'm sorry, Grandma." "You have nothing to be sorry for. You're the best thing in my life. Never forget that." He hugged me tighter. "I love you, Grandma." "I love you too, sweet boy. More than you'll ever know." That weekend, Caleb went to Richards as scheduled. I was grateful. I didn't want him anywhere near what was about to happen. Friday, May 10th, 2024, 1:45 p.m. I arrived at Mr. Harrison's office 15 minutes early, wearing the best outfit I owned. A navy blue dress I'd made myself 5 years ago, paired with the pearl earrings my mother had left me. I wanted to look dignified, strong. Mr. Harrison met me in the lobby. "Mrs. Brooks, you ready?" "I'm ready." We went to his office. On his conference table, he'd arranged everything in neat stacks. Bank statements showing every withdrawal Jasmine had made, credit card bills with her charges highlighted, the forged power of attorney with the signature analysis, photos of the emails about Sunrise Assisted Living, screenshots of the secret trust account. The closing documents for my house, which had finalized that morning at 10 a.m. A new will I'd signed on May 8th. "She's not here yet, mister," Harrison said, checking his watch. "It's 1:47. If she doesn't show by 2:15, we'll proceed without her, and I'll file the criminal complaint." At 1:58, the receptionist buzzed. "Mr. Harrison, Jasmine Brooks is here." "Send her in." The door opened. Jasmine walked in wearing designer jeans, a silk blouse, and heels. Her hair was perfect, makeup flawless. She looked like she was going to brunch, not a legal confrontation. But her hands were shaking. She saw me sitting at the conference table and stopped. "Mama," I didn't respond. Mr. Harrison gestured to a chair across from me. "Miss Brooks, please sit down." Jasmine sat, her eyes darting between me and the lawyer. "What is this about? Mama said something about updating her will?" "We'll get to that," Mr. Harrison said. "But first, we need to address some discrepancies we've found in Mrs. Brooks' financial records." "Discrepancies?" He slid the first document across the table. "This is a statement from Bank of America showing your access to your mother's checking account. Can you explain these withdrawals?" Jasmine glanced at the paper. "Mama gave me access to help her manage her money. She was getting confused." "I was never confused," I said quietly. "You lied." "Mama, did Mrs. Brooks authorize these specific withdrawals?" Mr. Harrison interrupted. "For example, this one on March 5th for $120. What was that for?" I don't remember. Probably groceries or something for Caleb. According to the grocery receipts Mrs. Brooks kept, she paid for groceries that week. So what was the $120 for? Jasmine's face flushed. "I don't know. I'd have to check." Mr. Harrison slid another document. "And this withdrawal on March 12th for $200? I don't remember every single. How about this one? August 5th, 2021, $13,289.55. The exact amount from your mother's matured certificate of deposit. Where did that money go?" Silence. "Ms. Brooks, I need you to answer the question." Jasmine's voice came out small. "I put it in savings." "Your savings or your mother's?" It was for Caleb. A trust account. A trust account that you control and your mother knew nothing about? I was protecting it. Mama doesn't understand investments." "Stop lying!" The words came out of me like an explosion. Everyone in the room jumped. I stood up, my hands flat on the table. I am not confused. I am not incompetent. I am not too old to understand what you did. My voice was shaking but strong. You stole from me, Jasmine. For 6 years, you stole from me. Mama, I can explain. You forged my signature on a power of attorney. I pulled out the document, slammed it down in front of her. This signature isn't mine. I never signed this. You forged it so you could control my money. Jasmine stared at the paper, her mouth opening and closing. You opened credit cards in my name and charged almost $60,000. I slid those statements across. Designer clothes, expensive restaurants, spa weekends, all while I was eating store-brand cereal to save money. You planned to put me in a nursing home. I threw down the printed emails. Not because I needed it, because you wanted my house. Jasmine's hands were shaking so badly she could barely hold the papers. I was just exploring options. $8,500 a month for care I don't need. You were going to drain my savings and then force the sale of my home to pay for it. But the house is in my name now anyway. She stopped, realizing what she'd said. Mr. Harrison leaned forward. Excuse me? What did you just say? Jasmine's face went white. Nothing. I meant, you just admitted you believed the house was in your name. How would that be possible unless you'd planned to use the forged power of attorney to transfer the deed? I didn't mean... That's fraud, Ms. Brooks. That's theft. That's elder abuse. Jasmine turned to me, tears streaming down her face now. Mama, please. I'm your daughter. I would never hurt you. I was just trying to help. You spat in my face, I said, my voice cold and clear. On April 16th, in my kitchen, you called me a disgusting old hag and you spat in my face. She flinched like I'd slapped her. You made me feel worthless in my own home. You stole my money. You forged my signature. You planned to institutionalize me against my will. You taught my grandson that it's acceptable to disrespect elderly women. I picked up the final document, the new will. So here's what's going to happen. This is my new will, signed and notarized on May 8th. You inherit nothing, not $1, not one piece of furniture, nothing. What? The word came out as a whisper. Everything I own goes into a trust for Caleb, managed by my cousin Vincent. He'll receive it when he turns 25. You have no access, no control, no say. But where will I live? The house? The house was sold this morning, closed at 10 a.m. I received a check for $343,000. Jasmine's jaw dropped. You sold it? It was my house to sell. But I live there. Where am I supposed to go? Mr. Harrison spoke up. According to Illinois law, Mrs. Brooks is required to give you 30 days' notice to vacate. However, given the circumstances, the theft, the fraud, the forged documents, she would be within her rights to file for immediate eviction. I'm giving you 72 hours, I said. You have until Monday at 5 p.m. to remove your belongings and leave. Monday? That's impossible. I can't find a place by Monday. You should have thought of that before you stole $151,884 from me. Mama, please. And one more thing. I pulled out the final document. This is a police report for identity theft and financial exploitation of an elderly person. Mr. Harrison has filed it on my behalf. The state's attorney will decide whether to press charges. Jasmine stood up so fast her chair fell over. You're having me arrested? That depends. On what? On whether you return what you stole. She stared at me. What? Mr. Harrison cleared his throat. Mrs. Brooks is willing to consider not pursuing criminal charges if you return the funds in the trust account, $78,443.67, and sign a confession acknowledging what you did. But that's all the money I have. It's not your money, I said. It's mine. You stole it from my accounts. I can't give you $78,000. I need that to find a place to live, to get back on my feet. You should have thought of that before you committed felony fraud. Jasmine looked between me and Mr. Harrison, her face desperate. Mama, you can't do this. I'm your daughter. What about Caleb? Are you going to let his mother go to prison? What about Caleb? I repeated. What about him watching you abuse me every single day? What about him learning that stealing is acceptable, that forging documents is fine, that elderly people deserve no respect? You taught him that family doesn't matter, that loyalty is meaningless, that the person who sacrificed everything for you deserves to be treated like garbage. My voice broke on the last word. I took a breath, steadied myself. So yes, Jasmine, I'm thinking about Caleb. I'm thinking about what kind of man he'll become if he keeps watching you treat people this way. And I'm thinking that the best thing I can do for him is show him that actions have consequences. Jasmine collapsed back into her chair, sobbing. Mr. Harrison slid a document across the table. This is a repayment agreement. You have two options. Return the $78,443.67 within 30 days and sign a confession, or face criminal prosecution. The choice is yours. She didn't move. Ms. Brooks, I need an answer. She could barely get words out through the crying. I'll pay it back. All of it? Yes. You have 30 days. If you miss the deadline, or if the check bounces, the criminal charges proceed automatically. Is that clear? Yes, Mr. Harrison slid another paper to her. Sign here, acknowledging the terms. With shaking hands, Jasmine signed. And this confession, stating that you fraudulently accessed your mother's accounts, forged her signature, and stole money over a period of 6 years. If I sign this, you can use it against me. If you don't sign it, I file criminal charges today and you're arrested within 48 hours. Your choice. Jasmine looked at me one more time, her eyes pleading. I looked back with no emotion. She signed. Mr. Harrison collected the documents. You're free to go, Mrs. Brooks. Remember, 72 hours to vacate the property, 30 days to return the funds. If you attempt to contact Mrs. Brooks or Caleb except through official legal channels, we'll file for a restraining order. Jasmine stood on wobbly legs. She looked at me one more time. Mama, I'm sorry. I said nothing. She walked out. The door closed behind her. I sat down heavily in my chair. My whole body was shaking. Mr. Harrison poured me a glass of water from the pitcher on his desk. Mrs. Brooks, are you all right? I don't know. You did the right thing. Did I? She's my daughter. She's also a criminal who stole from you and planned to institutionalize you for profit. You showed her mercy by offering the repayment option. Many people wouldn't have. I drank the water. My hands were still shaking. What happens now? I asked. Now you move forward. You have $343,000 from the house sale. You have your pension and Social Security. You have complete control over your finances. And you have a grandson who loves you and will grow up knowing his grandmother stood up for herself. Where do I go? Wherever you want. That's the beauty of freedom, Mrs. Brooks. For the first time in 3 years, you can choose. 18 months later, November 15th, 2025, Saturday morning, 7:30 a.m. I woke up in my apartment in Austin, Texas, to the sound of birds singing outside my window, not the noise of Chicago traffic. Not Jasmine's voice yelling, just birds. I made coffee, good coffee, the kind I'd never been able to afford when I was supporting 3 people on my pension, and sat on my small balcony overlooking a garden of bluebonnets. My phone buzzed. A text from Ruth Hamilton, my old friend from Golden Thread Tailors who'd moved to Austin in 2019. Morning, partner. Ready for the trunk show today? We've got 15 appointments booked. I smiled and typed back. Ready. See you at 9. Timeless Grace Boutique had been open for 14 months. Ruth and I were 50-50 partners. We specialized in elegant clothing for women over 50, the kind of clothes that made them feel beautiful without trying to look 25. The shop did well. Really well. We'd just signed a lease on a second location. I was 70 years old and a business owner. My phone buzzed again. This time, a video call. I answered. Caleb's face filled the screen. He was bigger now, 12 years old, his voice starting to crack. Grandma, guess what? What, baby? I got an A on my science project, the one about renewable energy. That's wonderful. I'm so proud of you. Behind him, I saw Richard's living room. Caleb had been living with his father full-time since June 2024. Jasmine had supervised visitation every other weekend, in a public location, monitored by a social worker. She'd returned $78,443.67 on June 9th, 2024, one day before the deadline. She'd sold her Mercedes, moved into a studio apartment, and gotten a full-time job as an office manager. She was in therapy. She paid child support to Richard now, $400 a month, which was all she could afford. I talked to her once every few months. Brief, polite conversations. She always asked if I'd forgiven her. I always said the same thing. Forgiveness is a process, Jasmine, not a light switch. The truth was, I didn't know if I'd ever fully forgive her. But I'd reached something else. Peace. I didn't hate her anymore. I didn't rage about what she'd done. I'd simply moved on. "Grandma, when are you coming to visit?" Caleb asked. "Christmas week. Richard already said you could stay with me for 3 days. Yes. Can we go to that BBQ place again?" "We can go wherever you want, baby." We talked for another 10 minutes before he had to go to soccer practice. After we hung up, I sat on my balcony a little longer, watching the Texas sky turn from pink to blue. My phone buzzed one more time. An email from Nicole, Jasmine's sister. "Eleanor, I wanted you to know that Jasmine completed her therapy program last month. She's doing better. She asked me to tell you that she understands why you did what you did, and she doesn't blame you. She also wanted me to tell you that she started volunteering at a senior center, helping elderly people protect themselves from financial fraud. She says she wants to make sure no one else does to someone what she did to you. I know you might not care, but I thought you should know." Nicole, I read the email twice. Then I did something I didn't expect. I smiled. Not because all was forgiven, not because we were a happy family again, but because Jasmine was finally taking responsibility. She was doing the work. She was trying to be better. That was more than I'd ever expected. That afternoon, I gave a talk at the University of Texas at Austin. The title was, "It's Never Too Late, Starting Over After 60. 200 people filled the auditorium, mostly students, but also some older women who'd come specifically to hear me. At the end, during the Q&A, a young woman raised her hand. "Mrs. Brooks, my grandmother is in a situation similar to what you described. Her daughter controls her money and treats her badly, but she won't leave because she says family is family. What would you tell her?" I thought for a long moment. I would tell her this: family is precious. Family is important. But family is not a shield against accountability. Real love, the kind worth keeping, includes respect. It includes honesty. It includes treating each other with dignity. When someone uses the word family to justify hurting you, they're not talking about love. They're talking about obligation, about guilt, about control. And you don't owe anyone the right to abuse you, not even family, especially not family. The room was silent. I would tell your grandmother that leaving doesn't mean she doesn't love her daughter. It means she loves herself. And sometimes that's the most radical, most difficult, most necessary thing we can do. Another hand went up. An older woman, maybe 65. "Do you regret what you did? Selling your house, pressing charges, cutting your daughter off?" "No," I said simply. "I regret that it was necessary. I regret that my daughter made choices that forced me to protect myself. But the actions I took? No, I don't regret standing up for myself. Not for a second." "Even though you lost your home?" "I didn't lose my home," I said. "I lost a building, but I found myself, and that's worth more than any house." On Sunday, November 16th, 2025, I woke up early and drove to Lady Bird Lake. I walked the trail for an hour, watching families play with their children, watching dogs chase each other, watching the sun rise over the water. I thought about Joseph, who'd been gone 30 years now. I wondered what he'd think of the woman I'd become, the woman who'd finally learned to choose herself. I thought about my mother, who died when I was 42, who taught me to sew with those steady hands she'd been so proud of, who'd told me, "Eleanor, you got good hands. You could make something of those hands." I had. Not just clothes, but a life. I thought about Caleb, growing up strong and kind with a father who loved him and a grandmother who'd shown him that dignity matters more than peace. And I thought about Jasmine, working at her office manager job, volunteering at a senior center, trying to become someone better than who she'd been. I hoped she'd make it. I really did. But whether she did or didn't, I would be okay. Because I'd learned the most important lesson of my 68 years, 70 now, on this earth. You can love someone with all your heart and still refuse to let them destroy you. You can honor your family and still demand to be honored in return. You can forgive someone and still maintain boundaries that keep you safe. And you can start over at any age, 60, 70, 80, if you're brave enough to choose yourself. My name is Eleanor Josephine Brooks. I'm 70 years old, and my life is just beginning.